Hey, I'm Josh Green, and right now I want to invite you to the Preach What You Practice podcast. This is a podcast all about acting first, speaking second, the integrity in your talk leading to authority in your walk. I want us as Christians to be people who practice first and preach second. We should be known as Christians for our love, for our walk in our communities, before we're known for our talk and our message, because most of the time, our actions are going to speak louder than words. Our actions are going to authorize and bring integrity and authority to our walk. So I want to invite you today to listen to this podcast. And this podcast is leading to a book that I'm writing at the moment called Preach What You Practice, which should be out in December 2020. But right now, I'm going to be starting with a regular podcast. And for this first week, we're going to be looking at Black Lives Matter. We're going to be looking at the issue of race. And I've invited quite a few of my black friends to take part in this so I can have conversations with them to discuss the topic. And really, what I'm trying to achieve is a proactive method to how we can eradicate racism, how we can balance equality in our nation, in our world, and bring justice to some of what's going on right now. And you might be thinking it's a strange place to be starting your podcast to be discussing this, but actually, the whole premise of Preach What You Practice is all about action first. And what better action as a Christian than speaking up for those that have been oppressed and downtrodden? So actually, if you think about it, it's actually quite a good place to start off this whole discussion. So today, I've got a good friend of mine called Marvin. He's a rapper called Crown Freedom, and he's also, really actively speaking out about what's going on right now. And I want to invite you to listen to our conversation, what we spoke about. I hope you enjoy it, and really my aim and my achievement for this is not necessarily to win you over to some sort of belief that I have, but really it's just to bring awareness to the black experience in the UK and also around the world, so that we as white people, as Christians, as brothers and sisters, as fellow human beings can have a compassionate, empathetic response to what's going on, but we can also stand with our black brothers and sisters in their suffering and oppression and try and be part of the solution instead of being part of the problem. So check it out. I hope you enjoy it. Please subscribe, please keep following, please get involved, and please share this with your friends, and I hope you enjoy it. It's a privilege to have Marvin on just to share his perspective as a black man with everything that's going on, and I just think it'd be really great to have him on. So how you doing, Marvin? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, considering, it's, obviously with the current situation, which I guess we're going to get into in a minute, it's difficult, but other than that, I'm kind of all right, yeah.
That's great. Yeah, it is a madness right now, everything that's going on, even with the lockdown as well. But I just wondered if quickly you could just share a little bit about kind of who you are, what your ministry work kind of thing is, like what do you do, who you are, all that kind of stuff.
Well, first of all, I guess I'm a man of God. First of all, got saved about going on 7 years now. 7 years ago. Always been interested in music, so I use that music gift that I've been given, and that platform to be able to engage with young people, prisoners, and express the gospel, show them the gospel, tell them the gospel, and just using music to create discussions, to tackle issues that are going on. It's just not every song that I create is Jesus, Jesus, God, God, or whatever. Sometimes it's just about my experiences or things that people are dealing with, in hoping that I can build up a level of rapport to then have that discussion around faith and that kind of stuff. And as a result of that, I go into the prisons and the schools and doing different topics. Before lockdown hit, I was supposed to go into school and discuss the issues around knife crime. So a bit of an anti-knife crime campaign and that kind of stuff. But I have my own record label now, which is Iron Sharpens Iron, which is the hat that I'm wearing. a little bit of a plug. But that's I guess more is based on the scripture in Proverbs, and it is just about sharpening each other, helping people. So that's the whole essence of what I do. How do I help people? I'm part of Victory Outreach Manchester. I think I'm classed as one of the leaders there now, which is always strange. But me and my wife oversee the outreach and evangelism department. So that's a big area that we're working in as well. So as you can probably tell, I've got, even in this time, I've got my hands full. But yeah, just I aim to just spread the gospel in, I guess, a way and talk about it in a way that people like me and from my background, because I grew up on an estate in Manchester and experienced certain things, will understand. I always think about how would that, the people that I know, how would it make sense for them? So I'm always looking at ways to do that. So hopefully that explains a little bit anyway about me.
That's great. It sounds like you're doing so much. I already know like everything that you're kind of up to, because I follow it online and just think it's really good. You obviously have a unique perspective, as you were just alluding to there, based on, you know, your background, you know, the places that you've grown up. And I just wondered if, you know, for me, like I said, we grew up not so far from each other, but actually in terms of our life experience, it's probably worlds apart. You know, me as a white man, especially with this racial issue and things that are going on at the moment, my experience as a white man is probably worlds away from your experience as a black man. But actually, I think a lot of people watching right now aren't familiar with the day-to-day struggles or issues of racism, just for you being black, just for you growing up. So I just wondered if maybe you could share a little bit of your kind of life experience growing up as a black man, and maybe some of the struggles and some of the things, just so that we can be aware and not ignorant to a black person's struggles day to day here in the UK and maybe abroad or whatever.
Yeah, sure. I think as a kid, you do, unless you're taught it, you don't really see colour as such. Even with myself, it's like, growing up as a young kid in primary school, it's not something that you really think about. Like, your mates are your mates. If you get friends, they're your friends. And you only start to think about it when someone says something about your skin colour. So mine started from an early age. I was probably about maybe 5 or 6 when someone mentioned something about my skin colour, and I didn't understand. I didn't know. I was 5 or 6. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that as a result of what they said, they were treating me differently, or they viewed me differently, and they would call me names and whatever else that were racist, basically, that were you know, horrible names, and I guess I would start fighting as a little kid. That was the environment. My primary school was in the middle of my estate, which was always just a mad thing anyway. So I would just always get into situations and always be fighting. Even my dad said to me growing up, he's a Christian now, thank the Lord, but he wasn't then. I would say, you know, if someone hits you, like, make sure you hit them back, or I'm going to hit you. And he wasn't being mean, but he was teaching me that the environment that we're in is tough. He would talk, I guess. And I think the difference for a lot of black people and white versus white people is, I guess, our parents often had to have the talk about racism with us at an early age. Because obviously, when that first happened to me, I come home upset. I'm like, well, what's going on? Then your mum and your dad have got to have that conversation. Like, look, you're probably going to be treated differently because of this, this, and this. And then as you get older, your dad starts to explain to you his experience of racism. Your mum starts to tell you her experience. On my mum's side, my grandma's white. My grandma experienced it because she had mixed race children as well. So then you start to see that. I always remember, as I got a bit older, my uncle running for his life, because this was at the ice rink near Alty ice rink over that way. And he was running for his life because people wanted to batter him. Like, they were calling him racist names and whatever, and shouting and all that kind of stuff, and wanted to batter him. And I guess for me, from primary school, just, it develops anger in you. I mean, I've seen a lot of other stuff to do with the estate and that kind of, like, you know, the drug deal and the robberies. My friend got kidnapped when we were 9 years old. That sends your head a bit west. There's a lot of stuff that happens, and you just see the violence, and just, my thing was fighting, I guess. I just had a lot of anger from the racism stuff, from all the other stuff that I've seen. But obviously, as you know, you don't deal with those issues. It goes into high school. Then when I went into high school, which I think it was only down the road from your school, but I'm a little bit older than you. I don't think you was in school when I was. I don't know anyway. But that particular area, my dad used to play cricket and that, and he'd take me to cricket, and when we go to Old Trafford and places like that, but he would never let me go to that area because he would say it's racist, like the area is racist. And I didn't experience that until I went to school, and you'd get, I won't say it on here, but even coming out of school, you'd have a person's name, a black person in the school is a N-word, basically. Black this, black that, and whatever else. And it got to the point that we were just fighting all the time. They actually had riots in our school, like race riots in our school, to the point where you come out of maths and it's just kicking off, because the people in the area, they hated black people for some reason. And not you can't generalize and say all of them, because I'm sure there were some that just weren't involved. But we would have some of the young people, our peers in our school, we would have their older brothers and sisters, mainly the lads, but trying to fight. So by the time we're in year 10, we've got the 17, 18-year-olds waiting outside for us and whatever else and trying to fight us and that kind of. And I started carrying weapons. I'm not going to lie to you, for protection, because that was the environment that I was in. And I used to play basketball, so sometimes I'd finish a lot later than the others, and they would try and catch you slipping, if you want to say that. They would try and surprise attack you, and they'd throw eggs at us and stuff. They actually came on the pavement in a car to knock over my friend. He had to jump into, who's mixed race, he had to jump into a bush, and it's just like, wow, they really hated us. And it got so bad. It got to the point where in year 10, the police had to come every night after school, because it was just kicking off every day. And there was such hatred there. And then obviously, I guess that can develop a hatred in you as well. For me, it was just like, I don't like these guys. And if I see certain ones and I'm fighting, and you develop that, and you get that more and more. And just so many situations, I guess, like the certain names. And it was just, I guess for me, and I had this conversation with one of my friends the other day, even in an argument growing up or a situation, like if someone was an idiot or whatever, I'd just call them an idiot or a fool or whatever. But when in the heat of the moment, in those arguments, a lot of white people, or the white kids that I was around, would use black in front of that. So you'd be a black idiot. Obviously, it's worse names than that, but you'd be a black idiot rather than just being an idiot. Like, so if I said to you, Josh, like, oh, you're a bit of an idiot, I'd just say you're an idiot. But then someone in that position, a white person, would say, oh, you're a black idiot, or you're a black whatever. And that's what I experienced. I was like, wow, why does it have to resort to that? And it was just, we knew growing up, meeting my friends, cousins, we knew we weren't equal from an early age. We knew that, and we knew that even with going for certain jobs and certain mentalities being followed by police. And, as I got older, it was then the discrimination, even with nightclubs and that. And you wear your best outfit. Obviously, this is before I was a Christian, bearing in mind. I'm not going out raving now, but you wear your best outfit and that, only to get turned away. And you'd be asking why, and they say, the phrase that we laugh about it now, because it was like, it would always be not tonight, lads. And it wouldn't be like that, yeah, there's 10 of us. It'd be like 2 or 3 of us. And you'd be like, yeah, not tonight, lads. And then you'd be like, why? And say, oh, it's your shirt or whatever. And then, honest to God, you see someone walk in, a white person with the same shirt on, or very, very similar shirt, and you're like, oh, and trainers, because you weren't allowed to. But then it's just like, how are you making a big deal out of what I'm wearing when it fits the code? But there was all that kind of stuff as well. And it was I only started getting into the clubs really because one of my friends was a DJ, so I just used to go in with him. But then a bouncer said something cheeky to me and tried to instigate something. And a lot of it, I do believe, was race related. We nearly ended up having a fight with bouncers. But we've been in so many situations, so many of my friends, where they're like, I've got friends now that are scarred from racism, that, even in this time, I trying to speak up now. This is black men and women, but they've been scared and scarred for so long that they've not felt like they've had a voice, and they felt misunderstood, and they feel like nobody's going to be able to relate to them. We used to get stopped by the police, and just randomly, I always remember one situation where we got stopped by the police, and we'd been out and whatever. It was me and my friend, he's mixed race as well, and we got pulled over. And was like, what we're getting pulled over for? And the attitude was just like, oh, just be quiet, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, but we've not done anything. It's like, we just need to, the information that they had was that there'd been a car stolen in the area. And we were like, well, what car is it? Because we know we've not stolen a car. And they said the car, it weren't even the same car. And I'm like, so why have you stopped us? No explanation, nothing, on your way.